And dear students of Honors Part 4, hopefully you are keeping well. I am Siddhartha Shankar, an assistant professor in English in Government Horoganga College, Munshiganj. Dear students, we are discussing on Joseph Conrad's novella, The Heart of Darkness. Dear students, we have already discussed on the major characters of this novel. Still, there is something yet to discuss. That is the significance of the character named Mr. Kurtz. You know, Mr. Kurtz is the central character in this novel. We find his appearance in the novel for a very short time. Still, he is very important in this novel. Basically, uh, his character in this novel is very much symbolic. That mm, therefore we should discuss his character elaborately to for better understanding of this novel. And uh, uh, this character is not a simple one, rather he is a very complex character. And it is not very easy to understand Mr. Kurtz. It is not very easy to define Mr. Kurtz. Therefore, he is actually a mysterious character, mysterious individual in this novel. And many critics found a lot of symbols or very much symbolical in him, in the character of Mr. Kurtz. I am going to discuss about the symbolic atmosphere or symbolic uh, symbolism in Mr. Kurtz. Um at the beginning, we will find that Mr. Kurtz basically symbolize a greed and commercial mentality of the Westerners. Greed and commercial mentality of the Westerners. Why? You know that this novel is all about imperialism, the effects of imperialism. Now the question is the causes behind or the reasons behind imperialism. Of course, imperialism has some many causes. There are many causes behind imperialism. uh, the white people or the Westerners, they, according to their point of view, they set the colony in different countries of the world with a view to educating the uneducated people or with a view to civilizing the uncivilized people. But do they do it without an interest? The answer is no. Basically, there is some commercial mentality or greed also behind this imperialism, and Mr. Kurtz in this novel represents that commercial mentality of the Westerners. And you know that here we will find Mr. Kurtz as an agent of Belgian trading agency. That means he is an employee, but when he went to Congo, Mr. Kurtz went to Congo, he developed a passion for collecting wealth, that is, passion for ivory. And ivory in this novel basically represents greed for wealth or avarice for wealth. And therefore, and this man, uh, Mr. Kurtz, he develops passion for collecting that ivory. And he was the he is considered to be the best collector of ivory among the among all other agents employed there. Therefore, he basically enjoys some sort of honor among the people, among the agents employed there. And he collects more ivory than all other agents can collect together. Um, Therefore, Mr. Kurz basically he symbolized the Westerners' commercial mentality and their avarice or greed for wealth. And we can give one example of his avarice like this. That Russian is one of the characters of this novel, and Russian on one occasion got some ivory from a native chief as a gift, and Mr. Kurtz came to know about it, and he forced the Russian to give all the ivories to Mr. Kurtz, because even for that a small amount of ivory, Mr. Kurtz couldn't ignore. Mr. Kurtz didn't ignore that even a small amount of ivory. He wanted that also. That means he developed greed or avarice and for collecting wealth. Collecting wealth. That means that he developed a passion for wealth. And another thing, Mr. Kurtz also symbolized white man's love for power, love of power. And actually all the people, we this is our innate nature, that we always seek for power, and the white people are also not devoid of it, and they basically want to rule over the people, or they wanted to subdue the people, they wanted to get honor from other people. And in Mr. Kurtz we also find such quality. And Mr. Kurtz, he actually represent himself as a godlike man among the natives, and the natives used to come to him crawling. That means they honored him in such a way that they came to him crawling. And if he found any people or any native people who is not obedient to him, he used to kill them. And a lot of skulls were there in the boundary of his residence, that Mr. Kurt's area. And that skulls were basically the people who were disobedient to him. He killed them and hung it on the wall. Therefore all the people, all the natives used to afraid of him, used to get afraid of him. Therefore this is basically colonial characteristics has been represented here, that all the people who set colony desired such type of obedience from the natives. And he wanted to uh, have a authority, that supreme authority or all over authority over the people resided there. And Mr. Kurz therefore symbolizes that imperialist rule. Um, you know again we will find the influence of barbarism upon the civilized man. Here in this novel we will find this is also symbolic, that influence of barbarism over upon a civilized man. That Mr. Kurtz went there and he stayed there for a long time, and he comes into a prolonged intimate contact with the natives. And therefore, some sort of savagery or the primitivism developed in him. And actually, a civilized man himself falls prey to the forces of primitivism when he comes contact to it. And Mr. Kurtz began to identify himself with the savages and began to participate in their customs and ceremonies. And he used to participate in midnight rituals, customs and rituals, who is used to ended with some unspeakable rites. And these unspeakable rites are basically we can't define it, but we can imagine, or we can suspect that this was basically about sex perversion, or brutality, or sacrifice of human being. Maybe this type of ancient practices were there in their midnight parties. Therefore, these all are basically the influence of primitivism upon the white people, and Mr. Kurtz also became a victim to it. Again, here we will find that symbolic of experience and maturity, and Mr. Kurtz shown a degree of intelligence by virtue of which he has become very wise and shrewd. Mr. Kurtz basically, he was an intelligent person, because he could have his all over influence over the natives. That means he was not a foolish one, he was an intelligent one, he was an educated person, he was gifted with great eloquence, he could manage the people around him, and therefore he could have draw their attention and honor. Therefore, all the people used to love him, used to adore him, or used to respect him. Even the Russian, from whom Mr. Kurz snatched a small amount of ivory, used to praise him with great words. That means he got the attention of almost all the people. Even Mr. Marlowe, a very much polished person in this novel, he also appreciated him, praised his personality, praised Mr. Kurtz's personality. And therefore, Mr. Kurtz was basically an intelligent one, and the white people, those who set colonies, were intelligent enough to control the natives. And Mr. Kurtz also a symbolic of a repentant sinner. A repentant sinner. He was a sinner. He knew him it, and from his last word, the horror. We came to know that he was aware of his sins. That means he was a repentant sinner, and uh, he had some spark of goodness, or a spark of values within him. And here at the end, he died with all the confession that he had done mistake, and that means he is not like that other sinners or other criminals. He became a criminal or became a sinner in touch of that nature, but he had some goodness or good values in him, but the environment didn't support him to be good, or from he was employed there to be a collector of wealth. Therefore, his job, nature of job, and didn't allow him to be a good person, or to be a good person. Therefore, he was basically aware of his uh, sin, and at the through his last words, he became repentant. So therefore, dear students, from this discussion, we came to know about Mr. Kurtz as a symbolic character in this great novel, The Heart of Darkness. Dear students, hopefully you have enjoyed today's class, and I believe that you will participate in my next class. Thanks for watching.